Thus have I heard. Once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagiri at Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a great gathering of the Sangha of monks and a great gathering of the Sangha of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi that expresses the Dharma called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, while practicing the profound Prajnaparamita, saw in this way. He saw the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son or daughter of noble family train who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita? Addressed in this way, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita should see in this way. Seeing the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature. From his emptiness, emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. There are no characteristics. There is no birth and no cessation. There is no impurity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness. Why? No ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas. Why? Dhatu, up to no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, no mind consciousness dhatu, no ignorance, no end of ignorance up to no old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of Prajnaparamita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, they transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the 3 times by means of Prajnaparamita fully awaken to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as truth since there is no deception. The Prajnaparamita mantra is said in this way. Te ata om gate gate paragate parasangate bodhisoha. Thus Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound Prajnaparamita. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice the profound Prajnaparamita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Chandara Samaraya Medeyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangati Bodhiso Papa Gonju Sonji Gai Dembe Doji She Loba Doji Meba Doji Chewa Doji Jagi Baji Metum Biju Danji Cheting Korea Zo Angiri Nunja She Yu Jiwada Medo Nube Yenan Yewadan Lumba Runjim Bonzon Zon Yori Jashi Yan Yo. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. Holy One is high, wrap the sky of your Dharma bodies in massive clouds of knowledge and love. And let them pour upon the earth of your disciples as we are ready, a shower of rain, the teachings deep and wide. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. Idam Guru Radha Mandala Gamni Radhayami. Jadan Zaji Janam La Janju Badu Dani Yazu Jindagi Junye Jibe Zonam Jidrola Benji Zanye Rubayo Jadan Zaji Janam La Janju Badu Dani Yazu Jindagi Junye Yibe Zonam Jidrola Benji Zanye Rubayo.
What an azulani, what an Kashugoreta, Raja Zawashin, the Visu, then the Logitajan, the Bani, then the Logitajan, the Batala, then Chibichomo, the Tomo, and Large Revolution, Sudan Ding, Tomo, Large Revolution, Chibichimbi, Large Revolution, Suson, Chibichomo, the Tomo, Large Revolution, Tell us Sambajan, somebody Jibite. Tala Ludu Sevas, and Sambajan, one the la Jiden Shama Tunji, Lojebatan, Jiden Shama de Totemba, Jiden Shama de Totemba Tala, John Luton Lady and Lende Marvel, Lende. Tiny but delay Taji saw Lendela Ishi Tebajebala Saji Sun Marvel, Lende Samba, Shadat Samba, San and Judusha Tus, Saji Sonje, San and Judusha Tus. Shizamba Sudla Munda, Sosa Shet Samba in the Manba, not the laying able to Lepecha or Lemajabado, Lejabachumas of us. Sosa Shet the Samba de la, Lenaju to Dembatan, led on River Dembas, led on River Demba to
Again, we are looking at Lama Tsong-kha-pa's great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. And if we look at the outline, we find first how to rely upon the teacher that is the root of the path. and then a second category of the stages of how students train their minds after having relied upon the teacher. So under that major heading, the stages of how students train their minds after having relied on the teacher, we find two major categories we end up with. First, training the mind in the stages of the past shared in common with beings of small capacity, training the mind in the stage of the past shared in common with beings of medium capacity, and training the mind in the stage of the path for beings of great capacity. First category of training the mind in the stage of the past shared in common with beings of small capacity, we have three categories. The actual training of thought of a person of small capacity, the measure of the attitude of a person of small capacity, and then dispelling any misconceptions related to a person of small capacity. First category of the actual training of thought of a person of small capacity, we have two categories. First, developing the state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives, and then a second category of relying on a means or a method for achieving happiness in one's next life. So that's the section we're currently dealing with, and under that section, we have, under the section of the actual means or method for achieving happiness, we have two categories. First, refuge, and then karma and its results. So we're currently in the karma and its results section, and that section is quite literally developing the faith of conviction in karma and its results that is the root of all temporary and happiness and certain goodness. So that's the actual title of this section, and that breaks down into three specific parts: reflecting on karma and its effects in general, reflecting on the specifics of karma and its effects, or the particulars of karma and its effects, and then how one abandons non-virtue and engages in virtue after having reflected on karma and its effects in general and specifically or particularly. So these are the three major categories that begin with reflecting on karma and its effects in general. And that reflection on karma and its effects in general has two categories. First, the actual way to reflect on karma and its effects in general, and then reflecting on the distinctions among the varieties of karma, or the different karmas. So those are the two categories under the general. So we've gone through the first category of the actual way in which to reflect in general, and we have 4 points that are made. The certainty of karma, the magnification of karma, not experiencing the effects of or the results of something that you have not done, and then the fourth category of the actions that you have done will not perish. So we've gone through those 4 points, and now we're in the section reflecting on the distinctions among the varieties of karma under that general category. And then we have the principal teachings on the 10 paths of action, and then the determination of the effects of action. So that's the section we're dealing with now, the distinctions among the varieties.
What that then Kashugure, Shizamba, Susu Samba, Susu Samba de la, Susu Samba la, ni le, le Lanjutu Dembas, Hajidambaji, le dans Debutin la Povas. Ta le dans Debutin la Pova de la Sondo, de la Sons, Nabi Lendetan, Kabi Lendetan, Lady Nayan Dembas, Hajisung, that Tom Nabi Lendemarbe. Nabilende dans Jiang Chaba, Tadaki, Debutembas, that Nabilende Guadele, then Deba Mogo Judet Marba, Lugile Nabasun Sujaba Majiba Lemba, Lohije, Nagi doing Tamachi to Nachije, Ijugun Nascendance and Lotaji, what the Jede, Je Samba Joa, Tatu Je to the Shigadua, Marba.
So then we have the two sections under how to reflect on karma and its results in general. So we have the actual way to reflect in general, and then the determination of the effects of actions. So this is the section we're dealing with, the determination of the effects of actions. And there are three categories that we start with. First, black actions and their effects. Second, white actions and their effects. Third, a presentation of other classifications of karma. So we're first dealing with black actions and their effects. And when we look at all non-virtuous actions, they require 4 specific points or 4 categories in order for there to be a completion of an actual path of action. And in this case, we're talking about non-virtue. So there have to be the 4 basis, attitude, performance, and culmination in any of the non-virtuous activities or virtues in order for these to be an actual complete path of action. So when we look at non-virtuous activities, we're speaking of 10 non-virtues, or the 10 misdeeds that are non-virtues. So when we categorize them, we find that there are 3 non-virtues of the body: killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct; 4 non-virtues of the speech: lying, harsh words, divisive speech, and gossip; and 3 non-virtues of the mind: covetousness, harmful intent, and wrong view. And any among these 10 all require these 4 bases for these 4 aspects in order for us to say there's a completion of an action, and in this case, non-virtuous. So we begin with this section dealing with black actions and their results under the major category of the determination of the effects of actions that's categorized under reflecting on karma and its effects in general. Tambo. Okay. Oh, then the Tambo Nipa Sumba.
Sumba da loyi de deba chungo yumare. Loyi sunga dane.
The Napi Ledre, the Ewa Som Nipa.
Ewa Nipa.
Okay. Tuche.
Yeah. Changa jeba da deba mago chugal jadwa.
Lesso. So then this category of black actions and their results has 3 points that relate to that. First, the actual paths of non-virtuous actions, and that's the section that we're dealing with, the actual non-virtues. So right now we've gone over killing and some others. So this is that first category, the actual path of non-virtue. The next category, distinctions of weight, deals with the fact that there are certain karmas that are heavier than other karmas. So for instance, when we look at the order of the non-virtues of the body, we find that there's a distinction in weight because killing is the greatest non-virtue, stealing would be the second level of non-virtue, and then sexual misconduct would be the third level or degree of non-virtue, if you will. So this is what is meant by distinctions based on weight. So the differences of these karmas. And we can relate these differences to all of these 10 non-virtuous activities. So we find there are distinctions based on weight and relate them to all of them and can find their degrees based on the action itself. So this is the second category, and then the third category is an exposition of the effects. So we'll get into that. So, Dixon.
Oh yeah. Tatugunana tamusu jibi ledela je samba jua tatu jimarbe. Su jibi lej jedele ane kanda paru buse was jedti bare. Susu se na wate su jibi le language duyungumar kanda paru buse bachi gugures. Kanda paru batu su jibi jeje. Ane samba da ane dushi da kulung da nyumu su marbe. ane da söndük zambatı tuğdu suyjero da wadu suje tene nyumun de chaşdan de çapkunlan de seba ane jedan kunlan seba tamu kunlan son yongo marida joa suje be joa suju rangi jönen digre jenli jönen digres tatu dele ane kaza paru bu şesona suje be joa şene şesona ane suje be language diyoruz Kolon da söyledi marbe. Söyledi sambadi marbe.
Ale.
Söyledi sambadi injero.
Okay, thank you. Less so. So when we start with the first category, the actual path of black actions, we begin with killing. So killing is defined as killing a being other than oneself who is alive. So when we look at the four qualifying factors, or four aspects that have to be present in order for the completion of an action, basis, attitude, performance, and culmination, that first category, basis, is referring to what can be killed. What is the basis for killing? So in this case, that first point that was made, a person other than oneself that is alive. So this is the basis of killing. So then the next category relating to killing. So when one kills oneself, it's not actually killing because the basis isn't proper. It's not qualified because the basis isn't other than oneself. So this is the reason why suicide is not killing. So the first category, basis, is explained. The second category of attitude has three parts. First, the perception. So the perception is perceiving there's a being that is alive other than oneself. So you're perceiving a being that is alive other than oneself. And then the motivation is to take his or her life, or its life, away from them. So this would be the actual motivation. And then the affliction is any among the three poisons of attachment, hatred, or delusion. So when doing any of this action of killing out of any among these afflictions or negativities, the three poisons. So being motivated or influenced by, if you will, these being under the influence of any among these three poisons. So this would be the affliction. So these are the aspects of attitude. And it doesn't matter if you have told someone to kill or killed yourself. Both of these would be considered when we're looking at the next quality of performance, an actual killing. So the performance is the killing itself, and again, that could be done by yourself, or you could order someone else to do it. So this is the third aspect, the performance, the activity of killing, doing the killing itself. So oneself or ordering someone else. So this is the third category. And then the completion is when the actual being's life is taken away. So when they are no longer alive, there is the completion of this action. So if there is a basis, attitude, performance, and culmination present related to killing, then an action or path action of killing has been completed. So this is how we qualify these black actions, the actual paths of black actions, beginning with killing.
수제바 되는 잡이 이제로 말이야. 제 다도 좀 당위나 다 컴바이나 다 내워데 잘라가리나 워데 이제 다 삼바데 워데 네 가져오래 삼바다 제 삼바들한 뒤에 다녀모 콜론송 레타 다 가데 고마고야 되바데 다 콜론 이제로 콜론 뒤에 된뒤에다 녀모 되자지도 무슨 가만하지 이제 콜론에 가 만나야 파르레 저한테봐오사 나 파르로 잘라데 레야가 되바들 콜론로 그레스 다조아 코마랑 군난디 그래 옌르 구조난디 그래 네 워테 네 타투레 다 잘라도 나레 송삼바지 토르 제바이나 네 마진레지 데바 마고 ngoji diungres marba
okay
deduji sonjana
that's it. So the next category is stealing. So this also requires the four aspects in order for there to be the completion of the action. So if we look at, as we did before, the act of stealing and how it relates to those aspects, we do so as follows. First, basis. Basis is referring to anything owned by another person. So when we look at this first category, we can't steal our own items. So it has to be, as in the case of killing, killing has to be killing another person. The basis of stealing has to be another's property. It can't be one's own property, because then it wouldn't be stealing, because the basis wouldn't be proper. So this is the first category of basis. The second category of attitude relates similarly to before, the perception that there is another person's property, and then the affliction is being influenced or under the influence of any among those three poisons. So the affliction, just as before, those three poisons, and then the actual motivation is wanting to have someone else's thing, wanting to have someone else's property. Property can be things, property can be a house, cars, money, anything owned by another. So the motivation is wanting to obtain or wanting to take. So one is motivated to steal because one wants this thing that someone else has and then wants to take it away from them. So, but the motivation starts with this wanting to have the thing that you don't own yourself. So you want to take it. And then the next category is the actual performance. So the performance is the actual stealing or taking of the property. And in the case of killing, it doesn't matter if you've taken the property yourself or ordered someone else to take the property. Either case is the performance of stealing. So this we find in the performance section, similar to the killing section, where killing oneself or ordering another person to kill is killing. Stealing oneself or ordering another person to steal is stealing. So then that is the second category of performance. And then the completion refers to the actual thought that one has acquired the thing to be stolen. So once the basis, the actual attitude, the performance of the deed, once those three things are complete, as soon as the person feels that he or she has acquired the item, then this is the completion of the actual path of stealing, and this is qualified by all four, and therefore an black action of killing, path action of killing. I'm sorry, of stealing, rather. Sorry about that. Dixon. So the third is sexual misconduct. The next category, sexual misconduct, also has to have the four aspects of basis, attitude, performance, and culmination or completion. So all four of these have to be present. And when we look at the possible basis related to sexual misconduct, there are four categories that we find. First, the basis of a person with whom you should not have intercourse with. Second, the place where you should, body parts with which you should not have intercourse with. Third, place where you should not have intercourse. And fourth is the time when you should not have intercourse. So the first category, speaking of basis, the person with whom you should not have intercourse with, if we're speaking of householders, so this is this explanation is given to a householder. So a person who is a householder should not have intercourse with anyone other than his or her spouse. Someone else's spouse or someone other than one's spouse is an inappropriate basis to have intercourse with. Also, animals are inappropriate bases, and children are inappropriate bases to have intercourse with. This is the person whom is an inappropriate basis. The second category relating to basis deals with the basis of inappropriate parts. Even if you are with your spouse, there are inappropriate parts that you can engage, that you, if you engage in intercourse with, are not condoned, if you will. First, inappropriate part are examples of inappropriate parts with which you should not have intercourse with are the hand, the anus, the mouth. So these are examples of parts which are inappropriate places to copulate or have intercourse with. The third category, inappropriate places, are referring to places such as holy places, places like God's houses, literally deity houses or temples, places where you're in the range of view of your parents. So these are examples of inappropriate places to have intercourse. And then the last category of inappropriate times would refer to the time that the woman has a maturity of the baby in the womb, where it becomes quite large. This would be an inappropriate time. Or if there is a disease that makes it harmful to engage in intercourse, this would be an inappropriate time. Or if any of the participants are involved in a one-day vow to abstain from intercourse, this would be an inappropriate time. So these are all examples of inappropriate times, and these four that we've gone over, persons whom you shouldn't have intercourse with, parts you shouldn't have intercourse with, places and times, all fall categorically under basis that are among those four categories that are necessary for the completion of an act.
Ombani Trebatel tattoo is Tresuna tattoo Ures. Nini tattoo ne ni Trebo Uza. Je Samba Joa tattoo.
Samba Lama.
Samba that Loin Jendo Samba de Jirota. Ta Ombani Treb percent of Mazeso Manva, the Trebatel tattoo ni Trebo Uza.
Then Joa. Nyamdu. So then we look at the attitude to want to engage in this intercourse, and then the intercourse, and then there's a culmination that goes on, the performance of it, and there's a culmination or a completion when the two sexual organs meet. So when the two organs come together, then there is an actual infraction that takes place, and the culmination of the act takes place when the two things come together, two parts come together.
So
if we go over this more and more, then the information becomes clearer and clearer as we go through it. So this is the reason that we're going over this again and again.
Tama Titu, La Cheche Marve, Jignan Tambo Jun de Legua.
Lesso.
Junjine, Junjit la Jeja, J Marve.
Lesso.
Tonga Tuba, Sheda Sheba, Naba Sheba Je. Tonga Tuba, Nene Sheda Sheba the Mashibani. Tonga Tama Ni. And Tuba the Matubani, Sheda Sheba the Mashibani.
Lesso.
And Trude in Marva. Each Naba Sheba the Mashibani.
Lesso.
Jade. What to Salazuna? Make the Tonga la Matons Salazuna Junji.
Lesso.
Matonga Tons Lava.
Lesso.
What the Najin Rabin Rabin. Sheda she said that them day. Tai Sheba, G Sheba, Lu Sheba, somebody, Union Medusa under town. And then Soso Shen the Lava town, Marshall Lava need Marva. Nai Tenung Marva. G Easy Ro. And then Luigi Rianung Gorota. Ha J. Luigi Sheba son the Union, no Alan Medusa Lazuna, Duran Marva. Sheda Mashiba Timber, Sheda Shin and Nai, and then Nai Shibi Run Tenyogumundu, T Shibi Runyogumundu, and the Louis Shibi Ranyogumundu, Soso Shell Lavahina, doing Jiro Marva. Sheda Shiba the Mashibani, Tai Iji Naba Shiba the Mashibani, Iji Shibi Shibala, Mashibala Shes Lava, what they jide Jiren, Jetan, Teleduva Jide. Jiredua.
Lesso.
Jede.
Lesso.
Da Kuja Yu Paru Dango, Dunshesa de Dunshesa Ganda de Paru Dunda Kanji Gugres. Dunda Mahukan Lana Dure Memandua. And I was seen them in the Lashan Zure Gomaruta. Kula Zuna, could Dunda Kuduna,
Lesso.
Could Jure no water. Go Samba la son Samba da Duché Nyomo and Colonson de Marve, Hamad and Rabin Giroda. Then that Duché Agudeba, June Shevin Duché, and then Samba de Chachedan, the Monson Garon Kunland, the Jacques Kunland Ducheba, and then the Mon Kunland Duchea, and then Condor Kunland Duchea. What the swing was that du chien de ton la maton, Joa la Sobas, ma 2 doigts, de chez Joa Soso. Niamon ne sont de charger dans ton son de Marvel. Colonne du chez Dieu de Mahan de bas, colonne du chez de Batrota, col Tazin chez Goussambajene, and the ton la maton la ton, Manu la Manu Salazuna. What the Duché de Mahan de Baos, Duché and the Batres, Marva. Tajua and Pan, Jama Maye, Tanto Lambas, Pan was that Ton la Matomaton to Cadan, Lana Dunrota, Malaba Inaya, Chuton and the Lungo Dulcina, the dream, but le gilet, le lait dans la ligne d'oie. Quand l'asuna, n'a les marve. Quand malaba, je le gnange tene, and the maton à la ton dodo, ton à la maton à la ton dodo, Jebaina, le gay, le gilet d'oie. What is one these are?
Lesso.
Joanne Pan, Jama Mayu, Tanto Lamba, le du. Chenmo d'un baosa, le nanjo ton dujiando. Tayang goba ranga jenji d'un chendashiki should the penjaro. That dream how the rounded men and digger, the men and digger chica humours. So Zosa. This doing the Tama Chizu Sombola, Joala, Son to Joa, Son Jinsa. During Tama Tizo Sombote, Rankshin and Jure, Jelly June Jure, Sondosa.
That's so.
Dueligen Jaga in Sondos. During Tama Tizo Sombot, Son la Joa, Joala, the Son to Joa, Son Jins. During Zende to nga ki jikala, ju le lang tu jo xie do sa. Zende ta lebe yin zun reba yin jir wata. Zun chama chi su nga chi, ne jikala tene, jen le dun xie jo ne digre, rang dun xie ne digre, zende le jikala digre son dos. O da, doa le ta chim do jo ne jimarbe. 타토 네 주마이 타토네 파르부 고아 이데스 다 준시네 르그나주 템바이네레 난 로바이난다 와테 준시에서테 고송나 ane 주마이 제바도 용그레스 누누이 송잖아.
Listen. So this next section of lying is lying. So we've gone over the 3 non-virtues of the body: killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. And now we're going to deal with the 4 non-virtues of the speech. So the 4 non-virtues of the speech are lying, divisive speech, gossip, and then lying, divisive speech, harsh words or offensive speech, and senseless speech or gossip. So these are the 4 categories, and they'll be presented in that order, beginning with lying. So lying, in order to be complete, needs to have those 4, the basis, attitude, performance, and culmination, as well as the others do. Other non-virtues require. So the first category of basis, there are 8 basises. So we'll read this. 8 bases of lying are that seen, that heard, that distinguished, and that cognized, as well as the 4 opposites of these: not seen, etc. Lying is when someone else, the recipient of the lie, comprehends the meaning of the lie. So this first category is dealing with the 8 bases of lying. So here we can take these 4 and make their opposites of the 4 that would be a lie, and then those would make for a total of 8. So lying about something that someone has seen or not seen, lying about something that someone has heard or not heard, lying about something that someone has distinguished or not distinguished, and lying about something that someone has cognized or not cognized. So this first category, lying about what one has seen, or lying about something that one has seen and saying that he or she has not seen it. So here, seen is referring to an object of observation that is comprehended by an eye consciousness. So this is something that is seen. So if someone is lying about seeing something or not seeing something, this is the first category. Heard, the object of hearing, is a sound. So someone is lying about having heard something, a sound, or heard something, or not heard something. So this is the second category. So making for a total of 4 at this point. The third category, that distinguished is referring to those things apprehended by the nose, tongue consciousness, and the body consciousness. So here, if there is someone is saying that if there is or isn't an object, it can be a lie. So if someone is lying about something that they have smelled or not smelled, or tasted or not tasted, or touched or not touched, so here the objects we're talking about are smells, tastes, and tactile sensations. So anyone who's misrepresenting the truth about these would be categorically under that distinguished. So these 3 are the distinguished categories. The fourth category is that cognized, that thought about, the mental consciousness, that which is cognized or not cognized. So that makes for a total of 8. So that which has been thought or not thought. So these are the 8 bases of lying. And then we see that there has to be someone else there who comprehends the meaning. So if we're lying to a tree, then this is not a basis that we can lie to, because the tree cannot comprehend what we're saying. So we find in this that the meaning of this, that there has to be someone who understands what we're saying in order for it to be a path action of lying. It says, of the 3 aspects of the category of attitude, perception, affliction, and motivation. Perception includes misrepresenting a perception, that such as what you have seen or something you have not seen, or misrepresenting what you have not seen as something you have seen. The afflictions are the three mental poisons. The motivation is your desire to misrepresent your perception. So here the perception is the misrepresented of what you perceived, be it positive or negative, having perceived it or not perceived it. So in the first case of having seen something, saying you have seen something you haven't seen, or saying you haven't seen something that you have seen. So this is the misrepresentation that's taking place. And when we look at the mental poisons, if you are misrepresenting, in the case of seeing, something you have seen or not seen, then if you're doing it because of attachment, or you're doing it because of anger, or you're doing it because of ignorance or delusion, then this is what is meant by being under the influence or mixed with the afflictions. So here the afflictions are the three mental poisons, are referring to that, as previously explained. And then the motivation is the desire to tell an untruth, to misrepresent something that you have seen or not seen, heard or not heard, distinguished or not distinguished, cognized or not cognized. So this is the motivation that one is having, motivation to deceive, to misrepresent. And then the performance is indicating something through speaking, through choosing not to speak, or through a gesture. Further, in terms of purpose, it is said that the same when you speak your own purposes or for the sake of others. In this case, it is said that even causing others to engage in the three types of speech, lying, divisive speech, or offensive speech, is doing the same as it yourself. Vasubandhu's Treasury of Knowledge and the Auto Commentary explain that all four vocal non-virtues constitute passive action when you cause others to do them. The texts on discipline say that you yourself must speak in order to incur a full infraction. The culmination of a lie is someone else's comprehension. The Treasury of Knowledge Auto Commentary explains that if no one comprehends the words, then speaking them is simply the non-virtuous action of senseless speech. Divisive speech and offensive speech are similar in this respect. So here these are just varying presentations of this information. So Rinpoche said not as important as the main points that we ascertain or understand about this. So the performance of it is when you're actually speaking or not speaking. So when we look at lying has a pathway that we can complete through our body or through our speech. So we can say, have you seen this or not seen this, and then lie by saying yes, if it's a lie in that case. Or if we look at the next possibility, if somebody asks us if we've seen something and we haven't, and we just nod our head yes, then we're lying by saying that with our body. We're telling a lie with our body in that case. So these would be these would be examples of lying non-verbally with our body. So we don't have to only be speaking in order to tell a lie. We can also tell a physical lie by affirming something with our body, or confirming something with our body that's not true. So this is the case of misrepresentation through our body and through our speech. And then the culmination, and then it also says that we can, if we lie ourselves or order someone else to do it, then it's also, in this case, as the other cases, considered a lie. So in here it says, so if we do it, in this case it is said that even causing others to engage in the three types of speech, lying, divisive speech, or offensive speech, are the same as doing it yourself. So there's that example. And then there's the other point that's made about doing it for your own needs or for someone else's needs. So if you're doing it, it doesn't matter if you're lying for your own sake or for others' sake. When it comes to the motivation behind it, it's still considered a lie. So if you're doing it for your sake or for someone else's sake, it's a lie. And if you're ordering someone else to do it or doing it yourself, then it's also a lie. So these are examples or possibilities related to lying and covering all of them. So the basis the bases of lying are the things mentioned, and then we have attitude, performance, and then culmination. Dixon.
다 준 타투도 what 말고 타투 네 바르브 고아이데스 준시바도 바르브 고소나 안나 준기 네바도 용거래 고아이데스 안나 준시바도 바르브 마고나 마고나는 세제 나체되는 거지 나체.
Less so.
윤타마 세수 나체되는 세제바장도 로아 준들리시도사.
So
준시바도 바로 고스모나 아는 다도 준기냐바도 용거레스. 바로 마고나 아니 나체되는.
less so. So the culmination or the completion of a lie is when someone else comprehends the lie. Now, if there isn't someone on the other side or someone else to comprehend the lie, then it's stated that telling the lie becomes gossip, becomes useless talk. It becomes gossip or useless talk. Yeah, senseless speech, that's how they're translating it. So if one says it and there's not someone there to comprehend it, it becomes gossip.
다준 참아 니바 참아 말이야 참아.
Tashi.
나가 니바도 어디 참아들 제 삼바 요아 타투지 상고로다.
Less.
참이 제도 쇼스나 참아시비 제도 쇼스나 참이 제네 세제 튠바당 튠바당 소스 세제 튠바도 제레 튠바도 제레스 다고도 참아시디 튠바도 튠바조로다. 저 개천담으로시네 군 조부이나 아니 개천담으로 뭐시네 마튜바자소나 참아래는 거지를 말이야. 마튜바이나 야한테 뭐시네 마튜바고 마튜바 서좀 마튜바 찾는 말이야. 어디인도다. 세제 튠바당 마튜바오스 세제 튠바를 참아가듯이 시고서나 군이 조부이나 어다 그 조부제는 그지 도자르다 지지 뭐시네. 는 그냥 마튜바 찾는 말이야. 참아시에서 어디 말이야. 마튜바 유에바이나 마튜바데 뭐시바이나 그냥 마튜바데 서좀 마튜바 찾는 말이야. 어디 인사라도와 튜바데 마튜바오 제데 인사래. 세제 튜바데 마튜바데 참아시에서 제데스. 참에제네 세제 튜바다 마튜바 나소스 세제 튜바를 참아가는 시고서나 그냥 조부이나 튜부이나 아니 그냥 마튜바 자게 그래서 요로다.
Less.
그저 뭐시네. 아니 그냥 마튜바 그저 뭐시바도 참았어 뭐다. 마튜바 요나 마튜바 대야 마튜바 조야게 그냥 조부 마서바지 마튜바 대야 마튜바 조야게 어떤 시바들 참아. 이제 나서서 다 제때 세제 튜바도 마튜바지 삼발라 손레스 삼발라 뒤제다 녀모 콜론송 말베 삼바다 뒤제다 콜론 말베 세제 튜바데 마튜바 조야게 도바지요로 모두 콜론지 말베 세제 튜바도 마튜바 조야게 도바데 콜론로 말베 콜론 마튜바 조야게 도바데 콜론로다.
Less.
세제 튜바라 튜바 도시바 마튜바라 마튜바 도시바 도시인지바.
Less.
다녀모 더샤공하게 참아시야 는뜨무공하게 참아시야 공주용하게 참아시야 도송도 생기지 말베 잡은다고 말베.
Less.
안내 조아 뎀바다 메뎀비치 강양롱이 저자 쳔메네 강양롱아 저바다 고바 라제 가롱 기셔도 페바오사 다 조아 말베 조아 참아가는 시고르스나 안내 그자 뎀바시는 참아시야요 메뎀바시는 참아시야요레스 치 강양롱이 저자 쳔보 안줄 쳔보시네 참아시야요레 안줄 메냐바시네 참아시야요레스 쳔메네 강양롱아 저바다스 나 고바 가기 제도르스나 고바 랑기 제도 참아시네 디그레 쟁기 제도 참아시네 디그레스 말에 라제 강로 시도 해보고서 뭐야 어떻게
Zundan Tama Nika Yimbi Mu Yire.
이렇게 참아
Gangisene the Zun.
달르트 칼리치 라우다.
So the basis of divisive speech are living beings who are compatible or incompatible. So of the three aspects of the category of attitude, the perception and the affliction are as before. The motivation is the desire that living beings who are compatible be separated, or the desire that living beings who are incompatible remain so. So here, compatible or concordant. So the first case, those who are compatible, So here it's using some sort of words to make beings who are together or who are united, who are compatible together, separate in some way. So they become incompatible by using words saying this person's very bad. So for instance, if someone has a friend they're very compatible with, and then I myself wish to separate them, I start saying bad things about their friend, and then they become incompatible in this person's mind and separate. So this is the possibility of divisive speech related to those who are compatible and those who are not compatible. So for instance, if you are not compatible with someone, and then I or someone then says things over and over that make that incompatibility even stronger. So separates you even more so as far as compatibility goes or concordance goes. So in the case of compatibility, it's separating you from that which you are compatible with. In the incompatibility, it's creating more incompatibility with your words by saying, oh, this person is very bad, and creating a wider amount or a greater amount of incompatibility between yourself and that other person. So these are the two possibilities related to compatible and incompatible. And then the three aspects of the category of attitude, the perception and the affliction is as before. So the perception of those beings to divide in the affliction is the affliction is any among the three poisons. So divide, you being engaging in divisive speech because of attachment or because of hatred or because of delusion. So this would be influenced by the three poisons. And then the motivation is the desire to make those who are compatible incompatible, or those who are incompatible more incompatible. So this is the desire or the motivation under the attitude section. And then the performance is the expression of subject matter that may be either pleasant or unpleasant and may be either true or false. You may speak of these matters either for your own or for another's purpose. So what you're saying doesn't have to be true. It can also be false. It just has to make those compatible incompatible, and those incompatible even more incompatible. So the point is that you're doing so to create this incompatibility, and also it doesn't matter if you're doing it for yourself or for someone else. So in the case as in the case before, and then the culmination is the other's understanding of the divisive words that have been spoken. As the Compendium of Determination says, the end of the path of action is when those who are to be divided understand the divisive words.
What that shaman painted that was the Chami Jedela, Sentient Tumba the Matumbas, Nalishman Denu. That Tumba, Sentient Tumba Matubas, the Mata Ni Chegurus, Sentient Jil Tamashina, Commodore, Ni Chegurus, Ni Chegurus, and so in that regime that Jatun Deo. Matumba shared the Kansa Ni Chegurus. So Shamar Pandita also adds a category of necessity. Shamar Pandita states there has to be two or more individuals as the basis in order for a division to take place. So there have to be two people or more in order to divide. So then Shamar Pandita adds this qualification of two or more. He says it can be three or four, but there has to be at least two or more people in order for a division to take place. Then the ni, Lamrim Chenmo ni. Compatible so less so. Okay. So in the Lamrim Chenmo, we only have beings that are compatible and incompatible. It doesn't say, it doesn't speak of two or more. So this is why Shamar Pandita adds this, because there has to be two, in order for a division to take place, there has to be something to divide. So there has to be two or more. So Shamar Pandita says incompatible and compatible, and then the basis of two or more beings. Okay, we're going to take a short break. We will be back. Tamato Nagi Dun Tama Chitu Naji non that Dun Saje, a little Tama Catulate Marva Tama. Tama de Lotte sentient tumba the matumbas, Tammy said the sentient tumba the jagre, matumba jagres. And then Shaman Pantag, sentient tumba ni chiguris, Kanza Jil Tamasha Maris, Kanza Niko, matumba Tamasha Gurmatu, Nietzsche, that Nietzsche so much Jadmo Kazi was the matumba in a Nietzsche Guris. That Tamashi and what the senior tumba did there, Kishan Damada Mamushi and Queen Matubas till Tamala Mata, and the Matumba Shiva, Kisha Juro, what the Tama is.
Bless him.
Yeah.
So now we're in the section on the non-virtuous actions of the speech, and there are four. Four non-virtuous actions of the speech are lying, divisive speech, offensive speech, and senseless speech. So we've gone over the category of lying already. So now we're under the category of divisive speech. So here, the basis of divisive speech are living beings who are compatible or incompatible. And we found an alternative translation, harmonious or inharmonious. So these are the two categories of beings that we can have divisive speech towards. And Shamar Pandita, in his text on the Lamrim commentary, states that yes, there are these two qualifications, that there are bases that are compatible and incompatible, but also states that there has to be at least two or more beings in order for divisive speech to take place. So it doesn't matter if there's 2 or 3 or 100 or 1,000. There has to be at least be 2 or more in order for there to be a division. So here, when we're speaking of divisive speech, when we're speaking of being divisive towards those who are compatible or those who are harmonious, we're speaking in such a way that makes them incompatible or inharmonious, or separates. And then if we look in the case of those who are incompatible or inharmonious, we're making them with our speech more incompatible, more inharmonious. So this is how we engage in divisive speech, and how we make those compatible, incompatible, and those who are incompatible more so, more incompatible.
다샤면 반데 데카세르 다네 세제 튜발에 니에시고레스 니에질 타마시고르마 질 타마시야가 용마레스 세제 튜바 이나야 그 니에시고르마도 니 지마도 맨나 그 타마시야 용마레스 what 샤면 반데 데카세르 당도가
So the basis, in the Lamrim Chenmo, it says the basis of divisive speech are living beings who are compatible or incompatible, or who are harmonious or inharmonious. And Shamar Pandita adds the qualification of that there have to be 2 or more. It's not an appropriate basis if there's only one being there. There have to be 2 or more beings in order for the path action of divisive speech to take place. So this is the point being made here. And then also Shamar Pandita adds that point.
다 차마 꿀롱도 가내지고 차마 시킨 꿀롱도 가내지고 그래서나 세전 튠바 이완 되바나 세전 튠바도 꿈 튠바 줘야건 되봐요 봐 되바들는 꿀롱라 그래서 세전 튠바데 튠바 줘야건 되봐요나 어디 참이 꿀롱 수지들레스 안에 세전 튠바데 만동바를 되바데 나 꿀롱 어디 말다 그러나 세전 튠바도 튠바 줘야다 So when we look
at the motivation for divisive speech, we have to have the motivation to want those beings who are compatible or who are harmonious to become inharmonious or incompatible, and those beings who are incompatible already or are inharmonious to remain so and become more so. So this is the motivation aspect.
다주와 안에 참아와 시제 튜바도 마튜바를 때는 참아시비 주와 간다지 고고스나 참아 간다지 고고스나 주와네 뎀바다 메뎀비치 카요 롱웨 제자체 메네 카요 롱 줘바다 서다 참이 좋아 참아 시단도 또 세워르스다 그 템버데 템버 줘야게 된다 제도 템버 템비 제도 는 게자 데마시난다 마데바시난다 어디 참아되는 거르스 네 세제 템버데 템버 제도 네 게자 데마시난다 마데바시난다 참아되는 거르스만도
Lesso.
Sambala sunle döşe tanyomu nyomun hajinos ta döşe tan nyomun hajino ta kolon ta seje tümba iyor döba dans kolon çiçe seje tümba de ane metümba suya döba çe seje metümba de mandumba şebi döba kolon teres ta döşe sana senjen tümbala tümban döşeva senjen tümbala döşeva diyeceğiz ta nyomonen döşa to konro demo son marve döşa onki tamashiba yore ne konro onki tamashiba yore demo onki tamashiba yores o de son yongursa o şey marve.
So then the motive, so here, I'll just read this. Of the three aspects of category, attitude, the perception, and the affliction are as before. The motivation is the desire that living beings who are compatible be separated, or that desire that living beings who are incompatible remain so. So here, when we look at the aspects of a category of attitude, the perception are beings who are compatible or incompatible, and the affliction is as before, the attachment, hatred, or delusion that influences one, and then the motivation is the desire to make those who are incompatible, incompatible, and those who are incompatible to remain so, or to be more incompatible. So this is the point that's made here, and the performance is the expression of the subject matter that may be either pleasant or unpleasant, and may be either true or false. You may speak of these matters either for your own or for another's purpose. So the performance, it doesn't have to be true. It could be either true or false, pleasant or unpleasant, and it's spoken with the sole point of making those who are compatible incompatible, and those who are incompatible remaining that way, or becoming more validated that incompatibility is present. So it's not so more so, it's just reaffirming this incompatibility.
다 주와 참아시비 주와 가르시에 그러스나 뎀바 하는 참아시야 요아래 마뎀바 하는 뎀마시야 요아래 주와네 뎀바다 메데 치카야 롱유스 뎀바 해바 이나레 네 줌바 해바 가르 이나 치카야 롱유 안네 조자 기자 쳔부시네 디그레 네 기자 마냐바시 시바 이나 치카요 마르스 가야 롱유 가야 롱아 쥐바 당사 안네 가시를 그자 뎀바시나야 쿠튜바도 못해 자는 말베 가시래 그자 뎀바시바 이나 가자 튜바는 못해 자는 거다 가시래 마데 네 니 치들래 네 줌바시나야 kunyi 못해 자는 주로 뎀바도 마뎀바스 뎀바시나야 참아차요 와레 줌바시나야 참아차요 와레스 조안 테마르베 조안 뎀바다 메데비 치카요 롱유스 뎀바 하나야 참아차요로 가실래 뎀바는 군이 게라요로다 가실래 줌바시네 게와찬데요로 어디서 임바르다 뎀바다 메데비 치카요 롱유에 조자 쳔바시네다 마녜바시네다 강로 조바다사 고바랑 체도 참아시네 디그레 ane yengi cheta tamashiba ine digres shedo meba usa guba radun menare yendun men cheo mares.
So when we look at the performance, it doesn't matter if what you're saying is pleasant or unpleasant or true or false, because there's sometimes you can say something that's true that makes people who are compatible incompatible, or who are incompatible more so or remain that way, and sometimes you can say something that's false that will do the same thing, make those who are compatible or incompatible, and those who are incompatible remain that way or become more so. So we see in this case, it doesn't matter if what you're saying is nice, or if what you're saying is not pleasant, or if it's true or not true. If it's spoken for the sole purpose of dividing the individuals, so making them remain incompatible or making them incompatible, if this is being spoken for that purpose, whether one is doing it to benefit oneself or benefit others, it doesn't matter. It still becomes a negative path of action of divisive speech if the purpose is to make that division, to make that compatibility incompatible, and the incompatible remain that way or become more so. So it doesn't matter what the purpose for doing it is. If you're doing it for you or doing it for someone else, it still becomes that negative action if the purpose is that the same.
다 드라마 가자 튜바도 뭐 튜바 니 제들에 그저 덴바시바 이나 안데 덴바시나 그 덴바레도 그 참아레 누로 줌바시바 이나 안데 줌 참아 니가 예서 말베 줌바시바 이나 줌이 참아이 줌도 참아게 말에 니가 요하레스 참아 나올 줌바시야지도
The Nika Yimbi Muir.
줌이 참아이선 디서
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when we look at this point made here, we can say that divisive speech and lying are not mutually exclusive, because we have a common locus here between lying and divisive speech, and that would be saying something that wasn't true. So this case here, it may either be true or false. So stating something that's false for divisive reasons would be a category of lying and divisive speech. So we have a common locus in Nika Yimba between the two. They are not mutually exclusive.
다 je 가자 튠바 튠바도 튠바 지지 되네 그런데네 뒤시다 유모다 안에 어디 송여도 말ပဲ송바 송제 다제 아니 조아 말ပဲ조아다 안에 가자 튠바도 튠바도 덴바 반단다 안에 좀바 해바도 해바 가르면 바이나 어디 참아차는 그래서 고바란도 해네 참아차는 그래 제도 해네 참아차는 그래서 다제 삼바조아 타투 참앙머지데 간데스 용거리스나 안도알레 도아데 르 파바토메 도아이제로 도아 땡주 노르요로 도아 사드가 도나니 논도아도 군두 도나니 논도아도 군두지 말베 돈 도아 되지로 도아를 참이 네 참이 타투 더 송도 타투 탄네 여와샤이 나바리바 오셰송데사 제비 침해보고 오사 다 가자 튠바 튠바 제야 안네 튠바 셰비 치데 안줄 고소나 안네 참아 내가 뭐가 쥐나네 참한 것이 되는 거래서
Tumba metun jegu salo.
다 튠바 체도 참아시바이나 참아로 온다 튠바 셰비제도 참아시네 참아로 참아 칸이
Tattoo. The tattoo.
타투 다 튠바 시바도 튠바 시바 해바데 고소나 돈다 고소나 안내 어디
Gusuna yine
젠다
metum jegu gamare.
젠다 고소나
Okay.
어느 어디 참한 거지 되는 거랬을 때
Okay. So then, when we look at these points that are made, when we look at divisive speech, we have the four aspects or the four qualifications that need to be present. So we have the basis, we have the attitude, which has the 3 points that are made, the motivation, the afflictions, and the perception. So we have these three categories under attitude that we've gone over. And then we have the actual performance, which is the expression of the subject matter, expressing something that is meant to divide, be it pleasant or unpleasant, true or not true. So that expression itself is the actual performance of the division. And then the culmination, I'll read from here. The culmination is the other's understanding of the divisive words that have been spoken. As the Compendium of Determination says, the end of this path of action is when those who are to be divided understand the words. So I kept asking Rinpoche if the division itself has to take place, or the parties who are to be divided understand them. And he's saying the understanding of the words. So once the people who are compatible hear the words to make them incompatible, for instance, then at that point, once they understand the meaning of those words, then at that point the divisive speech action has taken place. When we look at the point here, it says that as the Compendium of Determination says, this is one of Lord Master Asanga's texts. When we break Asanga's text into categories, we have the 5 treatises on the levels and the 2 compendiums, the Compendium of Trainings and the Compendium of Determinations. And this category is the Compendium of Determinations text, where Lama Tsong-kha-pa is pulling this information from. So it's saying that once the person understands these words, then at that point the division takes place. The divisive speech action takes place.
Ta je samba jo ta tu chama dipa ngoje de je bala je samba jo ta tu je chang go do je ma chana chama dipa ngoje de yong ma res.
So in order for there to be an actual completion of the action of divisive speech in this case, there have to be the 4 aspects present. There have to be the aspect of basis, the aspect of attitude, the aspect of performance, and the aspect of culmination. If these 4 are present, then we don't have a completion path action of divisive speech. So these are qualifications to qualify it as an activity.
Ta dipa mago chukal wote je samba jo ta tu je chang so na su je bi ngoje yong re ma ji bale ngoje yong re lo yin ngoje yong re ane du ngoje yong re chama ngoje yong re ul ma ga ji ba imba.
So when we look at all of the among the 10 non-virtuous actions, then we look at if these 4 are present of basis, attitude, performance, and culmination, then there is a completion of the act. So if we look at the ones we've already gone through, the action of killing, the action of stealing, the action of sexual misconduct, the action of lying, the action of divisive speech, if these 4 are present, then we have a complete path action of these. And then the others that will come later, the points that are following, will also have these 4 as well. It will also have completed paths in the same way.
Ta nga zu lu nga yi ji deba mago chubu karo mi chaba de yo samare de ane sanji go de deba chewa da raba nga roro je ne deba cho ane te du ru ge wa cho song ba res tele chelon du ne ga da ma ge je ba le je lan cho song samare ba.
So when we find these non-virtues, these are the 10 non-virtues of the body, speech, and mind, we say that these are the principal teachings, or the main non-virtuous actions. So this enumeration of 10 is enumerating the main ones, but it's no way saying that it's pervasive. So it doesn't mean that if it is among non-virtue of the body, speech, and mind, it is necessarily among these 10 paths of action. It means that these are the core points that are being made. These were it stated that systemizing the most obvious among them, the Buddha said that the paths of action, virtuous or non-virtuous, are 10. The lopu ninye lung. The lung. So this is from the Abhidharma Kosha, Basu Bandhu's Treasury House of Knowledge, where we find this quote.
All
sentient beings want to have happiness and do not wish to have suffering. Sufferings, Dungyal Ju. So the sufferings cause is non-virtue, so the 10 non-virtuous activities. Lower realms cause is the Dipa Mgewa Ju, the 10 non-virtuous activities. Happiness's causes are happiness's causes are virtue. By engaging in virtuous karma, we arrive in the higher realms of rebirth. So in the precious garland, the Nagarjuna's precious garland, it states that from non-virtue comes all sufferings, and likewise all the miserable realms. From virtues comes all the happy realms and all the joys in all rebirths.
So in our
So now when we understand what these misdeeds are, what virtues and non-virtuous are, then it's very important for us to acknowledge our downfalls once we've known what they are. So our non-virtuous activities have the ability, the potential to give rise to suffering, have the potential to give rise to a lower realm rebirth, but we have the ability to purify these misdeeds. We can purify these by acknowledging our downfalls, by engaging in the opponent powers and so forth, because there is a method for purification, so we can lessen these deeds' potential to give rise to suffering, lessen their potential to give rise to rebirth in the lower realms of cyclic existence. Stated, so mantra recitation has a great amount of power also. Just by reciting the mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, Jata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Ye Soha, it's stated that we're able to purify 80,000 trije, 80,000 eons of our negative karma. These are the benefits that are stated. All other mantras are the same as well, such as Om Mani Padme Hum. So we can purify our misdeeds by doing mantric recitation such as Om Mani Padme Hum, or by doing a recitation of sutras such as the Sutra Confession of Downfalls, Sutra of the Three Heaps, Tongshag, and these all can help to purify our misdeeds. So if a misdeed has not been purified, no matter how big or small it is, even if many eons have passed, if the causes and conditions become present, that will arise into experience. Just like a bird that's flying in the sky, the shadow can't be seen when it's high up in the air. The shadow is still present with that bird and can be seen as it lowers. So it's stated that no matter how much time has passed, how many eons have passed, when the causes and conditions are present, the experience will arise from the action. So no matter how long has passed, one will experience what one has done.
Chizubi Jene, Gune, Nasen Jibi, Jijubi, Senjen Nosa. And Chizubum Hayagi, Chizu Jete, Chizu Maji Duala, Je Samba, Jua, Tatu Jitang, Jitana, Chizu Dibangoji Dungre, Jetamasana, Mojuma, Diba Yuarde, Mojumaris, Diba Jibaroda, Chizu Genes, Gune Nasen Jibi, Gune Nasen Jiu, Jejubi, Senjen Nosa. Susul Dalmona de Gengi Juro, what the Chidu my Jiris, Jimarbe, Gune Nasen Ji, Gune Nasen Ji, Jejubi, Senjen Nosa. Ta Nasen Ji, Senjen, what the Chidu Ta Susul Lund Casure. Telatene, Contra Lansuna. And Chizu Magoro, what is one in summer? Gune Nasen Ji, Jijubi, Senjen Nos, Chizu Jit shows and a good Nasen Ji, Jijubi, Senjen to what there, Chizu my Jeres, the Senjen Resuna and Chizu Lavares, Sambala, Je Samba, Sambala Duchet on your moon, Hajinos, Samba Duchet on your moon, Hajines, and Chizu the Cha Wong Chizu Ma Yure, Country Wong Chizu Ma Yure, the Moon Wong Chizu Ma Yure, Kashi the Cha Wong Chizu Magore, Kashi and then Country Wong Chizu Magore, Kashi the Moon Wong Chizu Magore. Duchet and not that the Nasenji, J, Senjen Yimba, Senjen Yimba Dusheba, Dingero, Duchet, New Moon and Haji Nosa. Kaji Deja Wagi Tidu Magre, Kaji Demo Wagi Tidu Magre, Kaji Dene, Country Wagi Tidu Magre, Haji Nosa. Da Colon Tidu, my Colon Shosana, not to be Pound de Bosa, not to the Colneagi, Titu and Ragi, the batteries, Deba, Col Titu Lana, Colneagi, Tit Lagundu, and was on the Timberta. Then called Tuja Lagrota, called Puyage, and called Jun Loyal, Jun Long, that Colon not to be two ne, pound the boat, not to be two ne, and what Tizute, Pine de Bate, Colon, what it is.
Is Samba Yanja Suriname?
Samba Duchet dans Colon dans
The Duchet.
Duchet, that's Sejin, Naseji. Okay.
Okay. So that last quote about the inexhaustibility of karma is from the exegesis of discipline. And it says, even in 100 eons, karma does not perish. When the circumstances and the time arrive, beings surely feel its effects. So that's the exact quote from the last quote before. So when we move on to the next category, after the divisive speech, we find offensive speech or harsh words. So we go through the four categories again with basis, attitude, performance, and culmination in order to explain this section. So it says, the basis of offensive speech is a living being in whom you can engender hostility. So this is someone you can make angry. So this is an individual is a living being whom you can engender this hostility. Or of the three aspects of the category of attitude, the perception and the afflictions are as before. The motivation is the desire to speak in an offensive manner. So first, under the aspects of attitude is the perception. So perceiving an individual who you are going to say something harsh to. So it's an individual with whom you can, here it says engender hostility, so you're perceiving an individual who you can do this to, say harsh words to. Second category are the afflictions. So this is being under the influence of any among the three poisons of attachment. So saying harsh words because of being attached, saying harsh words because of being angry or hateful, saying harsh words because of delusion. So these are the how afflictions influence our use of our harsh words. And then the motivation is the desire to say something bad. And it says in an offensive manner, the desire to say something that's faulty, to say something offensive that they will find faulty. The word fault was used, June. So to say something offensive or faulty. And here one is motivated to do so to someone else. So then this is the motivation part of this. And then 去的 Joa la soin Lama
Tsezu mai ta tsezu mai joa de kande se na tsezu kande se mangu res. Joa kande tu tsezu mangu se la ba ina joa ne sa de me de kan yin ron yus joa de ba phana de re ne me de ba phana de kul ne ya kande ne ya de long ro na de me de kan ron yu de me de kan ron ri san sa Demba Pandan Digger, Madema Pandan Digres, Takan the Luigi Jun Le Jawansa, and the Lulchu Sharas again, the Kamba Juju, the Sanatan, Lugi Chan Jumbo Jota, what in the Sutubumaya, Raju Tuting Chane, and what you Tutima, Tuting, Kwamiko, what is Sanatan, and what the Tabama is at what in the last one Situ Chan was Madua. Le Jun le Jawansa, Le Jun Tamala Yorota, Shaguru Sanatan, what in the Mola Euro. 1300 公学节军来当的每年把好啥，最近上他最近给就是最近也不送嘛的，基金我们写了，我等听着他，来就公学了，他公学了的呢，你要去捐我们就了，他刚才捐的啥的，好啥就啊。
So next is the performance. How do we engage in the offensive speech or harsh words? So the performance is saying something unpleasant, which may be either true or false, about the deficiencies of someone else's family, lineage, body, ethical discipline, or behavior. So one could speak of someone's family lineage, saying that it's no good, or if someone is ordained, saying, oh, you aren't really a monk, you aren't really an ordained, you could say bad things very easily about somebody's body or physical attributes, saying that they have this or that. So saying negative things about one's body, or ethical discipline, saying, oh, this person isn't ethical, they don't really have any ethics. So saying something like, you aren't ethical, you don't have these ethics, or behavior, so commenting on someone else's behavior in some way. So it doesn't matter if it's true or false. And it can be about, these are examples of things that it can be about, what you can say harsh things about. So this is the example of performance.
다 제주 제 삼바 조아 다 타투 말이야 타투 제주 타투도 가르 타투도 가르자고서나 도아렌도 루병 토메게 군두이 도아레 타네 들라 나 주비메 보고사 아데 가자 나세지 주비 생전들레 나 주비메 소나 워든 제주 많이 디바 먹고 거기 제용 그래서 제 삼바 요아 다도 지창이 안에 제주부터 임비해서 오다 시에서비 대가로 햄비 유대 고아사 원들라 대고고도다 제주불라서 되게 다군갈 도자로도 전에 전화도 고소나 안에 다도 제용 그래서 제주 많이 디바 제용 그래서 야 란데레도에 도알레 달라 nga zubu meba wosa doaji shesombi den kala mebi yude goa gobas jondele shedos chizu lasa tege ngal chizu lasonyabe denda dote chizu lasa tege 고고그레스 노아고노는 데레스 페베이니제레 이니 데벌송도스
Less so. As for the culmination, so we look at the four aspects of basis, attitude, performance, and then culmination. So this is the fourth factor that has to be present. And it said, as for the culmination, the Compendium of Determination says the end is speaking in an offensive manner to that person. So when the words come out, when one says something offensive, then this is the culmination, according to Master Asanga. So this is in the Compendium of Determinations, as stated before. Asanga's two compendiums. This is one of the compendiums. And it states that it is when the words come out, when you say it to another person, at that point there's culmination. And then we look at Basu Bandhu's auto commentary on the Abhidharma Kosha, and we find that it says that, explains that when the person understands what is said, then this is it. It says, auto commentary explains the meaning of this to be that the person to whom the offensive speak is spoken must understand it. So Basu Bandhu explains the meaning of what is put forth in the Compendium of Determinations by saying it means that when that other person understands it, that is the completion. Less so.
ngaji jene deme bada dembi no sa ta ngaji la ya de denda me bo de lo de so we jiro da ane deme bada dembi no sa ngaji je samba la son de chine de la de che bo sa ne deme ba la go ba de che ba yin jiro da de sheba sheba zang le ma song jiang sa o de ba cha lo de ni ji ma du de ma song jiang de ne juan de bi de ni ten de she ne pang was o de nga ji la ya gi dun da de ane dun da do she ne ane o de la ba ji gu res juan de bi Deni las, Jun de Deni la, Turn to Shenes, Jun de la, Shene, and what the Genda Logures. How I eat this, how the loss, how I eat the la, Koja Yumogus, Naji Nan Kisha Naman Shama to Losa, and you go member that.
Less so.
Naji what Koja you go Marissa. ngaji gi jene de me ba dan de bi de no sa
Dun yoba sena?
de me ba de da me
Dun yoba igare.
ta ke chal de da yobe ke cha she yoro de da me bi ke cha de she da ana nga so ha san da de lo son de da ke yo ma da wo de ni ma da je ta ya da ta ana ku de da ke yo ma ke cha na mo de she da de ni sa ma ba
Dun da yana tigre.
de me ba dan tembe de me ba dan temba de me ba dan temba sa und de me ba da ku de na ji lo shut
So the basis of senseless speech is a speech about a topic that is not meaningful. So if one is speaking on something that does not have meaning, of the three aspects of attitude, the perception is as follows. Although I'll just read this through. The perception is as follows. Although Asanga says nothing more than a perception of that as that, here senseless speech means that you yourself perceive the topic about which you wish to speak and then speak. It does not have to involve someone else who understands it. So in order for it to be qualified as gossip or senseless speech, there doesn't have to be a person, an object to which you are speaking to. So you don't have to be speaking to someone in order for it to have no meaning. And I said to Rinpoche, well, what is examples of things that have meaning? And Rinpoche is literally saying that it's talking about something of no meaning, such as singing. Sometimes you could be singing something that doesn't have any meaning. So I'm not so clear. I see everyone. So you could be singing something that doesn't have any meaning. Or if Rinpoche made a noise like a yawning noise, if that would be an example of something without meaning, like ha, like this would be an example of a word without meaning. So that's it so far. Unless I missed something, I apologize.
다 되는 꿀론에 만들비 형제도 마음도 보스 다 나지 꿀론도 가르스나 계산 대화면 봐 다가지 로야근 되버들스 말베 계산 대화면 봐 되는 대화면 봐 다가지 로대야 줘로
So talking without any kind of connection or any reason?
계산 대화면 봐 된다면 봐
Without any meaning or reason?
로야근 되버 줘로
Just out of the desire to talk. So just you have a desire to speak. So things that aren't meaningful out of a desire to speak.
녀모는 소부 가능수 다 되자고 같이 매봐. 드모고 같이 매봐. 되네. 시당고 같이 무슨 거 요지로다. 가능어사. 그로는 만데와 손제도 하는데 그로데 느끼자 하신 되면 된다 매봐. 디시야가 되버들었다. what 시야가 되버데 나지 그 그로도 버들었어. 그로노사. 다 주와 나치 간데스 마고 그랬어. 주와네 나 제바 마와 좀바고서 나 제바 마와 나 제바 마와데 좀바들 와데 주와라 그랬어. 나 제바 마와 나 제바 마이 샤와 좀바 서 말베 샤와 좀바 오사 다든 타투들 때 뭐도 왔다. 나지 타투들
Okay.
타투 뭐다 이와당 도주 송도 도주 타투 뭐데 나지바 펜스바 타투지 된다 매비도 어때 그새도 시사송나 나지 타투도 용거레스 말베 다 나지라 이나 가지요스나 뒤자고도 뒤 나지 타투라 이나 뒤 되는 도주지다 사지 근전라만 자제베 어디도 가도들 사지 송들도 네 타투 뭐다 이와다 도주 송래도 도주 송
Sena.
타투 뭐네 들어다 타투 뭐네
Real.
다 타투
Dene.
녀모 나지바 마 좀바 오스 대조아제 타투네 나지 해신 보스 나지바 된다 매비 그저 시사송나 아니 나지가 타투들스 해신 보스 오드 갈레주다
Dene desum. Dang. Ewa. Ewa. Dang. Ewa. Dang.
다 타투 뭐스나 타투 들어다 나지 해신 보스 오드 타투 들어다 나지 해신 소나 디바 먹어 주이나네 나지 디바 뭐지 둥거스 제 삼바 조타도 제 상도 거스 나지 뭐지 둥거스 나지 타투 둥거스
Lesso.
다 나지 타투 들어가지 두
Ewa. Oh, lesso. Dune. Okay.
What
Dene
is-
sumba.
손바 저봉
Sugun.
저바 도바
Okay, doubts. Okay.
다 뭐야 어디 지주단 주 이사르바
So then when we go to the next category, the affliction is any of out of the three, any of engaging in senseless speech out of attachment, engaging in senseless speech out of aversion or hatred, engaging in senseless speech out of delusion or ignorance. So any of these three that are influencing the senseless speech or gossip is where the affliction. Motivation is the desire to make arbitrary, unconnected remarks. So there's that not connected word, not connected to anything specifically, just words for the sake of speaking that have no meaning. The performance is to undertake the speaking of the senseless speech, so to actually engage in the gossip, and the culmination is having finished an utterance of senseless speech. So there doesn't have to be an object that one is speaking to in order for this gossip to take place. And then when we look at Jayan Sheba's commentary on the Lamrim, we find that we divide this final category of culmination, which is the completion, into three categories. First, the actual, it in actuality. Second, the number of divisions. And then third, just any kind of misconceptions or doubts. So the first category is the actual completion. So here the actual is if there is the four are present of the basis, attitude, performance, and completion. So this is the actual way, and then the actual way in which there is a completion. So how it's actually completed through these three, and then the fourth, and then the next category are the categories of completion. So there are 7 categories of completion here. It says the culmination is having finished an utterance of senseless speech. Furthermore, senseless speech has 7 bases. So here there's going to be 7 divisions related to this completion, and then dispelling misconceptions. So these are the 3 categories that Jayan Sheba, and we'll go over it again next week when I look further into it. But these are the 3 categories that we will go over.
Ngaji mhensin bawo tatu ngonse awot marbe ngaji mhensin du ngaji ko tatu dre nuwares tatu ngonse do dre tatu ne ngaji mhensin bawo hos tatu ngonse do marbe ta tatu la ena kazu je duyus te an je dundan demba tes te an je dundan demba dus rond wat jirma ses wat dunde Lari Jenda sul Seburamudu, Lari Chuma to Sul, Yuji Yetimal Dodore. And the Shaman Lari Nandu Rajan to the Lord Seburamudu, Janjiba Yajure, Janjiba Gate, doing the Karajasana, doing the Tangaji, Tatu to the Dune shows and not Tambu shows and not. Je dune dans Dembate, Tambutere, Tamutan, Sandroatan, Jobatan. Jebram Hawa Hote, Tatu Tombres, Tatu Tomo. That Tomo Kachabatene, and the Marching Tombata, Marching Yibata Hotel, Kichamushia Tomo, and the Chinton numbers of Toya, or the Chandroa, and the Chulon Jun, the US, what the lawyer Mara, Chandroa dance, and the Juba, and the Juba Kichaba Moyungo, the Juba down, and the Jia, what the name had there. Ngaji tatu doing on Tambu Teres, Tambu Tere, or the Jujana, Tamutan, Chandroatan, Jobatan, Jebam Hawas, the doing on Tambu.
Okay. So it says the culmination is having finished an utterance of senseless speech. Furthermore, senseless speech has 7 bases. So here in the culmination, we find there are going to be 7 categories. And when we look in the other Lamrims, the smaller Lamrims, we don't find very much information about this. When we look in Pabunka Rinpoche's Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, we don't find a very amount of information. It's all very condensed. So the best place to find the information is in Jayan Sheba's commentary about the Lamrim, and that's where we find the most extensive information about this section. So that's what we're going to use for our explanation of this. And then we're going to go over the very first category of the 7. So speaking of fighting, fault-finding, disputes, and divisions. So these are the first among the 7. Speaking of fighting, so we're looking at all fightings that take place, various wars, First War, Second World War. So talking about wars and so forth, or fault-finding, or disputes, engaging in kind of debates for no reason, or disputes for no reason, and divisions. So this is the first category related to the culmination.
Nipa Teresa, that Nipa Shirubi Tenju Sang, Transi Sanga La, and Gangui, Lu, Lomba Batan, Kandun Shebas, what the Nipa is Nipa.
Chukanga Lagwe.
What the Nipa, Nipa, Tomba Losaro. Nipa, Nipa.
Okay.
Nipa Shirubi Tenju Sans, that Shirubi Tenju Sans Transi. Transu Secretary Marve, Regi Tamatan and Gejima, truly Chundabatan, Nikaza Gejima, Lombisherachi, Tanga is, Nana Lu, Nobitatele, Lombisherachi, Tanga Eurote, Regi Tama, killing it what the Lombisherachi Taris. Regi is a veggie Tamba by Tamba. Tamba was a transit will Tamba Balagumarva. Transit to go at the Regite, 사 장비 송레스 리질 가르송바데 tsemares dembares wotus lawares riji tsama is lawade number shirachi tares riji tsama marila wota pe chuchi tabe nane lu dombi tadru yoro riji tsama dana gejema chule chule bada kaza wote number shirachi tangai ta song is ka song yore wote riji de wote tsawashi de kanunji lombo wote jena and wote ngachires and shirubi tenju to Sulu Gabaji no than China to Sue and Ngachiris on the Sare Ngachiris Roa. Then shirubi tenju sang transi sangala Gai Lu Lombo Batan Kanunshi Batakante shirubi tenju dan Rigi to Sulu Gabaji and Kanunji what and Jena to Ngachiri no Ngachi Tatu Nibatre.
Less so. Okay, so then number 2, so among the 7, we've gone through the first, and the second is speech such as transmitting and reciting texts with a mind that delights in the treatises of non-Buddhists or in the mantra vehicle of Brahmins. We find in the Pramanavartika Karika in the beginning, where Dharmakirti states that delighting in or expressing or reciting the texts of non-Buddhists is gossip because it is not valid. Cognition is not truth. It is not valid. So if we're reciting with a mind that delights in the treatises of non-Buddhists or in the mantra vehicle, such as Brahmins, when we look at the Brahmins, when we look at the caste, the various systems of the lineages, this would be those who worship Brahma. Those who worship Brahma are following not valid doctrines. Therefore, the things that they express or propound are not valid and therefore are gossip if spoken about. So because they're not accurate, they don't have the meaning that they're not valid, then this would be considered gossip. So it says, or the mantra vehicle of the Brahmins. Now, there's a small part that I'm going to have to... so we're finished. There's a small part that I missed, I know for sure, in the translation, and I'll have to get back to it. I'd really need Jamyang Shepa's commentary in order to keep moving forward with this, so I'm going to need to look at that in order to translate better. So we'll be back next week, and then Wednesday is the first Wednesday of the month, isn't it? So this Wednesday we have Yuntenshi Jirma, Lama Tsong-kha-pa's Source of All My Good class. So please everyone come, and then I'm making an announcement about something else too. Lama Tsong-kha-pa Day on the 27th of November, correct?
It's a Sunday, wasn't it? Or Saturday? It's a Friday.
Friday.
Wait, Friday. So let me see.
It's the 27th, right?
Friday.
Friday the 27th of November is Lama Tsong-kha-pa Day.
December.
December? How about I don't make the announcement, because I have no idea what any of the information is.
It is, Jeff, 27th.
Okay.
December is a Friday.
Okay. December 27th, a Friday, is Lama Tsong-kha-pa Day. We are going to be doing the Mahayana one-day vows in the morning at 7 a.m. And then in the evening, we're doing something a little different. Rinpoche has agreed to teach Lamrim. So Rinpoche is going to teach the Source of All My Good on Lama Tsong-kha-pa night at 7, Friday night, so for auspicious reasons. So we will do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the 3 times. I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness, all-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso. May you stay until samsara. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, holder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in 5 great philosophical texts, exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tuji Rimche Gutsi Shapi Danonan.